Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Calls for government to prioritize poverty alleviation to reduce crime. Worry that rising cost of basic food items is contributing to crime. And later in sports, West Indies women beat South Africa in Super Over. I'm Vashan Brown and here are the details. Prioritize poverty alleviation. That message from the president of the Lay Magistrates Association of Jamaica, Dr. Lyndon Rose. As Sandy Williams reports, Dr. Rose believes this can aid in reducing crime and corruption across the country.
Corruption has worked hand in hand with the crime. They never depart each other. And if you don't deal with the corruption, the crime won't go away.
President of the Lay Magistrates Association of Jamaica, LMAJ, Dr. Lyndon Rose, bemoaning a stark observation in Jamaica's crime history. Speaking at a recent annual general meeting for the St. Mary chapter of the Lay Magistrates Association, Dr. Rose sought to explain why the country's crime problem may be difficult to curb.
The young men on the road know what the corruption is and they know who are the corrupt individuals. And they then lose respect. They lose respect for law and order. They lose respect for the corrupt JP who charging money when they're not supposed to be charging money. We can't fool them nowadays.
He laments that corruption is a big problem that stakeholders are not taking seriously enough.
But few take it seriously enough to demand that government, the private sector and individuals, that we act decisively and in conjunction with each other to tackle this matter. It can't be that to get things done, I have to know somebody on the inside.
Dr. Rose also adds that poverty is also a factor.
When you look in Jamaica and you look in any town center, the long lines at the remittance centers. Long lines, there's money coming in, and the remittances have saved this country through the pandemic. But is it sustainable? We can't continue to expect the people in the diaspora to give us that type of support forever. We have to help ourselves.
Therefore, he says the alleviation of poverty should become a priority for the nation. Dr. Rose believes this will help resolve crime and corruption in the country.
It won't be easy, but it is not impossible. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Because when we look at China, in the last decade, the Chinese have lifted millions out of poverty. How did they accomplish it? Every year in every community, persons suffering poverty must be identified and credible measures are taken to remedy the situation.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
Financial analyst Dennis Chung is worried that the rising cost of basic food items is contributing to crime in Jamaica. Mr. Chung says the COVID-19 pandemic has eroded the financial security of many Jamaicans. In an interview with TVJ News, Mr. Chung says if the cost of living continues to increase as expected due to the global supply chain crisis, crime locally could become a bigger problem.
You have a situation where the pandemic would have significantly impacted people from a income point of view. A lot of people would have been on the brink of, problems with loan payments and mortgages. The banks had to issue some moratoriums on those things. And then because the money wasn't out there, I think that some of what you're seeing, and it's sort of confirmed in a newspaper report today, is contributing to the crime. So what sort of societal impact, definitely will have an economic impact and economies can turn, but the societal impact is really what I'm concerned about.
And the People's National Party PNP Women's Movement St. Catherine representative Karine Francis is making an appeal to criminals to stop the bloodletting across the island. More than 100 murders have been recorded since January 1. Ms. Francis says the spate of violence, especially against women and children, is sickening.
And I'm urging you men out there, please, stop. Stop murder. Stop abuse Mother Nature. Woman is the backbone of the family. Woman is the one that birth give you life. And for you men out there who are abusing the woman, remember you have mom. Remember you have sister, you have daughter. Remember them when you go there. Whatever reason you are there to abuse and murder a woman, please stop.
Plans have been announced to start providing incentives to persons who provide information which lead to the recovery of illegal weapons. A statement last night from the Office of the Prime Minister said a national incentivized campaign to find illegal weapons is to be launched. The matter was discussed at Friday's meeting of the National Security Council. The Council agreed on the development of a national campaign against illegal guns and gangs. The campaign will be across all media platforms and target young men. The Office of the Prime Minister says the objective of the campaign will be to educate the population on the dangers of illegal guns and dissuade persons from dealing, trafficking, procuring, processing, and using illegal guns. It was agreed that significant incentives should be provided to the public to share information leading to the recovery of illegal weapons. In addition, there will be a significant public education component on the new Firearms Act and the penalties that will be applied to persons involved with illegal weapons. Vice Chairman of the National Road Safety Council, Dr. Lucian Jones, says plans are in place to ensure the country sees fewer motorbike crashes in 2022. Dr. Jones says 163 persons died on motorbikes last year. He says this is a huge increase when compared to the 260 drop in fatalities in 2012.
Since that time, there has been a surge in the purchasing of motorcycles. There has been a surge in the number of motorcyclists who are not wearing the helmets, not trained, not licensed, not insured. So the goal this year is to do three things: to provide helmets, to do the public education that will help people to understand the importance of wearing a helmet, to provide training where we can, to make sure that the motorcyclists are driving safe vehicles, and also to provide them with infrastructure.
Meanwhile, Dr. Jones says the baffle on motorbikes continues to be a major problem as persons are still complaining about loud noise.
And I know that the police have tried. Have they tried hard enough? Have they tried for long enough and consistently? That's a moot question. So only the police can enforce that kind of law. And of course, public education to let them be aware that what they're doing is disturbing other people. Do they care? Another good question.
And it's now time for a break, but please stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News, and thank you so much for staying with us. Several healthcare facilities across the island have been retrofitted as part of efforts to improve the country's health infrastructure, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. We have the details in this report.
9 healthcare facilities across the country have been retrofitted. This was done under the Smart Healthcare Facilities in the Caribbean Project Phase 2. Jamaica was one of 7 Caribbean countries chosen to benefit from the program. A total of 12 facilities will be upgraded. The Pan American Health Organization, in partnership with the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office of the United Kingdom, implemented and funded Phase 2 of the Smart Healthcare Facilities project. This was at a value of £46.3 million.
The primary aim of the project is to retrofit healthcare facilities to become safer, greener, and more resilient to natural disasters and climate change. This project directly supports strategic goals to address critical climate-resilient infrastructure gaps and strengthen institutional capacity to deal with the impact of the increasing threat of natural disasters in the region.
While speaking at the official handover ceremony in St. Anne's Bay Hospital recently, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton expressed gratitude.
And should give us an opportunity as Jamaicans, whether as policymakers or as the operational arm for public health, to really pause and in a sense rethink, recalibrate how we build out our health infrastructure and build out resilience of our people, of our communities, and indeed of our country
He later revealed more changes to come. The ministry will be launching a primary healthcare renewal model that will be similar to the smart healthcare facilities.
We are going to be reviewing our infrastructure buildings. Some of them are already under review. You would have heard of the IDV program, where 10 health centers are going to be overhauled or newly constructed. The features around resilience are going to be emphasized, whether it is the provision of water or it is other features that will ensure that it withstands the risks that we are all exposed to in these environments.
Cody-Ann Barrett, TVJ News.
The country's COVID-19 admission dropped by 2.7% in the last 24 hours. The Ministry of Health reported that 501 people have been admitted with a respiratory illness, down from Saturday's 515. 53 patients are severely ill and 24 are critically ill. There are 7,864 active cases on the island. This as 410 new cases were reported on Sunday from 2,607 test samples. The country's overall case count is now 124,512. The positivity rate is 33%. Meanwhile, 8 more people have died from the virus, increasing the death toll to 2,658. 2 deaths are under investigation. 346 additional people have recovered from the virus, pushing the recovery count to 70,003. Taxi operators in Portland staged a protest from 6:30 this morning, expressing frustration with contractors working on the South Coast Highway. They have been complaining about the deplorable condition of the road. They have also been complaining about the disrespect that they say they receive from contractors. In some instances, the road is being blocked, preventing operators from carrying out their service, and when it rains, the road is impassable.
When they work, they block the road like 2 hours. And when we talk, that they do. They put bull force power. They put the excavator them in the road and then move them. The police don't come, they don't move.
At the end of the day, I don't even know what some of them make sense to work on the road, because all you see them on a cool tree, a bun ganja and on phone. You understand? And food things get spoiled up. We have bills to pay, we have rent to pay, we have mortgage to pay. You understand? So right now we want this thing to solve. Urgent and possible, and if it not solve, we are going out here again.
Now, the taxi operators say they have made efforts to contact the person in charge, but their efforts failed. When our news team tried to get in contact with a representative from the company responsible for doing that leg of the highway, we were told that the office was closed for the day. The sitting of the National Youth Parliament is now underway at Gordon House. In her address, Youth Minister Favour Williams encouraged the young people to continue to contribute to the country.
Youth advocates across Jamaica are making their voices heard on the issues affecting the island. This as the 12th sitting of the Youth Parliament under the theme Evolve is currently underway at Garden House.
We must be resolute, ladies and gentlemen, that as a government, moving forward, expanding the education program to tear down these connectivity barriers, as this is a public-private partnership that will provide the development of rural Jamaica. Yes, Mr. Speaker, we can all agree, without connectivity, there can be no real technological productivity. The government pause.
For every 10 young persons aged 15 to 24, 3 were illiterate. Unattached youth accounts for roughly 30% of the total youth population, more than half only having a maximum grade 9 level education prior to COVID. Since the pandemic, statistics show that more than half of the school population has either partial to no access to a device or no internet.
Education Minister Favour Williams said this year's staging saw a record number of applicants.
Of special note, the ministry received a record 1,055 applications for the 2021 cohort of National Youth Parliamentarians, of which 102 young persons were selected to serve. And of course, we're very sensitive to the gender balance. And so we have 51 males and 51 females.
In the meantime, Mrs. Williams encouraged the youth leaders to continue on the path of national development.
Jamaica needs input in the development of ideas and policies as we seek to move forward. Your ideas are no less important than those of your seniors.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
And it's now time for the Business Minute. Here's Cody and Barrett.
A panel of investment analysts speaking on inflation and interest rates in Jamaica have advised that entrepreneurs operating within the small and medium-sized business space look to fund capital-intensive projects immediately, as interest rates are set to climb over the next 6 months. According to the acting head of investment banking at NCB Capital Markets Limited, Saku Crawford, the outlook for the near term is that borrowing costs will continue to rise, so businesses looking to reinvest using debt should do so now. The Bank of Jamaica BOJ increased its policy rate by 50 basis points to 2.5% in December, its third hike in 3 months, to keep inflation in check. News overseas, the U.S. economy grew by 5.7% last year as it roared back from pandemic lockdowns. Analysts are, however, expecting growth to slow this year as the government scales back stimulus spending and the Federal Reserve raises interest rates. The World Bank is predicting the U.S. economy will grow by 3.7% this year, in line with other forecasts. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
Time now for the top regional and international stories. Here's Sandy Williams.
In the region, the Haitian government has criticized the decision of the Secretary General of the Organization of American States, OAS, Luis Almagro. Last week, Almagro met with 3 former government ministers, including former Prime Minister Claude Joseph, regarding support for the ongoing investigation into the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse on July 7 last year. At the meeting, Joseph noted that the investigation into the assassination of President Moïse is a transnational crime and today involves several countries in the region. It was also alleged that the current Prime Minister, Ariel Henry, should be regarded as a suspect in the assassination that took place at Moïse's private residence. The 3 former government ministers claim that Prime Minister Henry will do everything to ensure that the investigation does not succeed, citing in particular the dismissal of Vincent and Bedford, the latter having asked Asian law enforcement authorities to open a probe into Henry, following allegations that he had been in contact by phone with one of the main suspects still on the run. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
We now head to a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have your midday sports report. Simon Preston is standing by.
Welcome back. It's now time for Midday Sports. I'm Simon Preston. The West Indies women's team have taken a 1-0 lead in their 4-match ODI series against South Africa after recording a win in the Super Over in Johannesburg today. Batting first, South Africa were bowled out for 160 inside 41 overs. Hayley Matthews was the most economical bowler with figures of 2 for 21. In reply, the Caribbean side were also bowled out for 160 inside 38 overs. Deandra Dottin top scored with 37. In the Super Over, the Caribbean side made 25 runs, with Dottin making 19 and Matthews 6. South Africa were restricted to 17 for 1. The third ODI is slated for Thursday at the same venue. West Indies T20 captain Kieron Pollard has commended his unit for their all-round performance in their 3-2 series win over England. The Caribbean side defeated England by 17 runs in the 5th and final T20 at the Kensington Oval in Barbados on Sunday to win the series.
You know, the guys have worked tirelessly, you know, after coming from Jamaica. You know, our heads were down and, you know, we had conversations in the dressing room on how we want to play the cricket, and I thought the guys bounced back, you know, pretty well. So, you know, for us, we have to focus on what we need to focus on, and which is the cricket, and I think the guys are putting their head down, the understanding what we want to do, what we want to achieve, you know, as a team, and you saw the results tonight. Yes, it's one series, but, you know, we have been on the losing end of a lot of series and a lot of games, and you have to take this one. So the guys need the opportunity to just free up themselves and enjoy themselves for a couple of days.
The Caribbean side will now turn their attention to a limited overs tour of India in February. To football we go now, as five-time winners Arnett Gardens will be searching for their second win in the Jamaica Premier League this season as they battle Humber Lion at the Captain Horace Centre of Excellence this afternoon. Arnett Gardens have 3 points after 2 games, while Humber Lion only have 1 point after 2 fixtures. Kickoff is at 3:15 Jamaica time. At 1 o'clock, Montego Bay United will battle Malines United. The competition continues on Tuesday with a slate of 2 fixtures. Jamaica's Rugby Sevens team finished 15th out of 16 teams on the second leg of the World Rugby Sevens series in Seville, Spain over the weekend. On Sunday's third and final day, the Crocs fell 24-19 to Japan and 40-14 to Canada. Last week in Malaga, the Crocs finished 14th. This was Jamaica's second appearance as a Tier 1 Rugby Sevens nation. Their debut came in 2021 in Vancouver, Canada. The Crocs will now turn their attention to the World Cup qualifiers in June. And that is it for your Midday Sports Report. I'm Simon Preston. Vashon, it's over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Simon. And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashon Brown. Please remember to join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a wonderful afternoon and have a great week.